Okay, so thank you for this insightful discussion. Now let's move on to the next session that we all have been waiting for. We have saved the best for the last. So it is called Working Towards New Solutions, READI project sets the precedent. A warm welcome to Juliette Guillot, Development ESG Lead at Novartis and IdiPAZ READI project lead, and Dr. Alberto Borobia, Head of the Spanish Clinical Research Network, Scientific Deputy Director of IdiPAZ, and IdiPAZ READI Coordinator.
Good. Thank you. Buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon, everyone. So the problem, or I'm not sure, the advantage of being the last one today is that all the rationale about our project, READI project, has been mentioned and has been discussed today. So probably this can be a summary of the main challenge that we have discussed in this ICTD. So, as you know, European population is a very heterogeneous population under the demographic and genetic point of view, and we have also a variety of societal and environmental influence across multiple countries. So our clinical research ecosystem should reflect this reality, because as we have discussed in depth today, without representative participation, clinical studies do not reflect real-world population, limiting the impact of medical innovation. So we have created probably the largest IHI project in Europe in terms of number of participants, also in terms of number of patients, organizations, participants. We are 73 organizations in 18 different countries, including probably all the stakeholders involved in clinical research. We have partners from the academia, patients organization, experts in digital, artificial intelligence, researchers, other communities, 16 industry partners, and other institutions, including regulators, experts in ethics, and other experts involved in clinical research. So the main objective, the mission of our project, READI project, was to reshape the clinical research ecosystem in Europe, allowing everyone, especially underserved and underrepresented population that we have mentioned today in some of the presentation, to allow to access, participate, and benefit from health innovation. This project has 10 work packages. The first pillar, the first work package, is dedicated to better understand and characterize what is underserved and underrepresented population. We have discussed, we can see here what is the theoretical definition, but it's important to know that we need to characterize what is underserved and underrepresented population across Europe, but also under a country level, because underserved population could be different between countries. We are in Europe more than 40 countries with very different, very heterogeneous, so it's needed to characterize what is this underserved population. We need also to identify what is the usual underrepresented population in the usual development of drugs, and it's also different. We can't have a unique definition of underrepresented population. We need to analyze in each development, in each disease, what is the underrepresented population in this specific case. So also, and it has been mentioned in a lot of presentations, who they are, and it's very important, and it's the first work package and the first pillar in our project to including a set of standards descriptors. I have mentioned that we are in Europe, 44 countries, more or less. Each country has a different healthcare system. They have different also data healthcare records. So it's important, first of all, to harmonize all these standard descriptors to provide, to include or work together the different countries, and also to use the information of the clinical trials and clinical studies ongoing, and information also using the real world data. So, and now, if you remember, we have a Slido. If you can scan the QR, and we move. It's here, no? Yeah? Okay. So which of the following is most often a barrier to clinical research participation for underserved population? What do you think? It's important also for us. It's important to remember, okay, 50-50, only 3%, 5. Lack of information, restrictive study design, limited access to clinical trial sites. We are more or less 100.
Plus the people inside.
I think, and also online.
Mm-hmm. Right or wrong answer.
Okay, so mainly lack of information, restrictive study design, we have also discussed today. Limited access to clinical trial sites is also another barrier. We can move to the presentation. Okay, this is your slide.
Yeah, so today it was really interesting to hear everyone talking about the different barriers. We could see that different perspective came to the discussion, depends on the stakeholders, depends on where you stand. Of course, industry might have different perspective than the patient, than the clinical centers. It's a mix of everything. We just tried to list a few of them, but knowing that it's not exhaustive, which was really, the lack of information. We heard that today. Poor communication came frequently. Health literacy, the mistrust from the patients, from the communities, but I think it's kind of also this kind of lack of understanding between each other sometimes. The geographic limitation, human bias from everywhere. When we don't know each other, we tend to have our own biases, and the restrictive study design that came also in the conversation. So, yeah, in READI we are going to explore those barriers and do surveys, and just not assume that we know everything, but really restart a little bit from, not from scratch, but building on what we know, and make sure that we don't have any additional gaps that we may have, from, because underserved and underrepresented population might have barriers that not come spontaneously to us. We mentioned today a lot about the stakeholders and the platform, you mentioned, Laura. And so we have identified many stakeholders, the patient, the healthcare professional, of course the sites, patient organization, the sponsors, regulatory agencies, HTA ethics committee. But I think as we move forward with READI, we will find other stakeholders, and we just want to make sure that we include everyone. So there is a work package which is working on stakeholders mapping, and it's a very interesting process that Work Package 9 is driving. to make sure that we don't miss anyone again. And we have identified a few strategies that are taken by each work package. So instead of mixing everything, we have structured READI in different work packages to make sure that we work on each topic. So work package 1, you explain on the characteristic. Work package 2 is really about the digital platform, and we have to work with cities on how to actually be complementary to each other. Work package 3 is really about the design, study design. It's also about the tools like decentralized trials and other approach that we can have. The work package 4 was around the training education, where Maria is involved. And then, yeah, there are other aspects that you will cover. So, but they are really different. We understood that it's a very fragmented ecosystem. A lot of people do a lot of things. We have a lot of stakeholders. We tend to do the same thing as we have been doing, but we understand that we've underserved and underrepresented population if we have to change the way we approach things. And so we have to go back to, to the desk and make sure that we have a structured approach to the topic. So time for...
Time for the second question. Okay, so which approach is key to strengthen the capacity for inclusive research? So, the other questions son respuestas trampa.
Yes.
Okay, I think that all of us agree, or no?
But it's misleading. We did it on purpose to bring everyone aware, awake.
Okay, so it's very important. I can use this. Yeah, so it's very important clinical sites capability building. We have a work package 5, that is fully dedicated to map European clinical sites, to map not only European clinical sites, but also other network related with clinical research in order to build clinical trial site competencies to conduct clinical trials and connect underrepresented and underserved population. This is a very key, important point. I think that it has been mentioned also today, but it's very important because we can improve the design of clinical trials. We can provide new tools to increase the participation of underserved and underrepresented population, but at the end, it's the researcher in this clinical site that will select and will recruit these patients. And there are different kinds of clinical trials. If we think about clinical trials in vaccines that we need to include volunteers, is very different, for example, than a clinical trial in an emergency department when we are developing a new drug, I don't know, for flu or for pneumonia. Okay, we can have a great design of clinical trial, but the physician that is in this emergency department, if he has 2 different patients, 25 patient with university studies and another one elderly, probably 80 years patient, probably he will select the first one, to be honest. Why? Because it's an easier patient for him. Okay, so we need to create capabilities to train clinical sites, to train the researchers about what is the importance of include underserved and underrepresented population, because it's important. In this example of pneumonia, the mean age of patients with pneumonia in the emergency department is about 70 years old. But if you review a clinical trial with the last phase 3 development of a new drug for pneumonia, probably the mean age is about 55 years old, okay? But it's important to train this physician all the team that work with this physician, but also to provide the capability in this clinical site to support the research. So at the end, in READI, the objective of this work package 5 is to have a real network of ready sites able to reach and engage this underrepresented and underserved population.
So you can type any wording.
What are the most important steps in effective community engagement for research?
Clear communication, transparency, communication comes back first.
Listening.
Openness. Representation, transparency, reciprocal relationship. Understanding, respect, connection, scientific aspects.
Reciprocal relationship.
Language, education. So I thought that, I let you switch to. So we do have also a work package focusing on community connectivity, and what I really like is that they are talking about community cluster. And so I just took notes from some of the conversation we had today, and they have to start with how do they define even a community cluster. And then today there was something about including scientists that are outside of our standard clinical study ecosystem. The communication channels that we use might not be the most appropriate, depends on what characteristic you look at. Think about the special needs, have curiosity to look for the patients in different places and not always where you go. Start early and go for long term. I think it was also about the sustainability piece you mentioned. Challenge the status quo, and co-creation came from one of the case. And really, in this work package 6, they are going to explore all this, but also thinking from the barriers that the patients are facing, but not only the patients, because actually it's everyone. We heard today there are challenges everywhere, but we can overcome them, and we also have to share our learnings. So this community cluster and how we can work together and co-create together is going to be covered by this work package, and hopefully over the years coming we will really have a lot of material that can be shared outside with everyone. So I mentioned a few work packages, and you must have been like, what is she talking about? So this is the way we structured READI. With every topic covered by a different work package to make sure that we bring the expertise to the right place. But we also make sure that between work packages they talk to each other, because we don't want them to work in silos. So there is a lot about making sure that there is interconnectivity between all the 73 partners, and that's endeavor by itself. And but we also cover the ethical aspects, the data protection aspect. We will touch sensitive topic in READI, and we just want to make sure that we do it right. We also have communication, that's very important, how we communicate inside READI, but also how we communicate outside with all the stakeholders and with the entire, all the citizens and patients and everyone. And of course, it's a huge project, as you can imagine, so we have a strong project management team to support all of us. And so, to conclude, READI is really designed to transform the clinical research ecosystem. That's what we are aiming for. We want to build capabilities that are oriented for underserved and underrepresented population. We want the patient to be at the center and to have all stakeholders working together and make sure that we don't miss anyone. And we are, thriving to more inclusive clinical studies. And we are, ready to go. We started in January, and we focus in Europe because it's a European project, but we know that we all run, or the majority of global trials, so we have to make sure that we, we take that into consideration as well. So, and I think that's kind of, if you want to have, we just started to put some information on the website, more to come, more details, but if you want to be with us, just follow us, and we are looking forward to presenting the results of the work of this entire amazing consortium. Thank you.
Thank you.